Welcome once again to Higher Powered Living Now. And we're reading the publication Living Clean. And we're on the first chapter, Living Clean. Living Clean is a lifelong journey, and the NA program gives us tools to build a life infused with hope. No matter where we are in our journey, we believe that it can get better, and that we can get better. We practice living a principled life and find a new way to live. We try new things, and some of them suit us better than others. As we experience Living Clean with its ups and downs, miracles and struggles, dead ends and open doors, we see the world more clearly and better understand our place in it. The program of Narcotics Anonymous is the way we have found to escape lives of desperation and pain. But that's not all. NA is. It's a path, a process, and a way of life. Many of us come in with just the barest hope that we can get the pain to stop. In the beginning, our willingness is born of our suffering and fear. Living the program changes us in ways we might expect and in ways we never imagined. NA gives us the ability to turn our desperation into a passion to live fully and grow spiritually. We experience relief almost from the beginning of our recovery, and our first experiences of joy are like seeing color for the first time. Our minds are open and our spirits are free. Even if we experience it only for fleeting moments, that joy carries us through our hardest days and nights. It's not what we think about our recovery that matters. It's what we do. Living clean is a spiritual process, and it teaches us that the world is bigger than we imagined and not as far out of reach as we have feared. Our flawed beliefs about people who didn't use drugs shaped our opinions about what we might be like when we stopped. When we first got clean, many of us worried that our lives were about to become small and boring. What we find really is beyond our wildest dreams. We have opportunities and the ability to follow through on them. Perhaps more importantly, our connection with the people become intensely important and satisfying to us. The close friendships we have with members also who share our recovery can be a deeper connection than family. We share an intimacy that is really special, and when we carry that over the course of many years, it grows into an abiding affection and understanding of one another. Commitment to recovery is essential for us. Maintaining recovery as a priority may come to mean different things for us over time. We need to maintain our connection to NA, but taking responsibility for our lives also matters. So many things compete for our attention, and as addicts, we have a tendency to think in extremes, all or nothing, right or wrong. Finding the balance is an ongoing negotiation. Attending the meetings regularly doesn't have to mean every night of the week, but meetings continue to matter for our own well-being and for our ability to carry the message. Keeping that lifeline strong and ready is a matter of continuing maintenance. It gets easier when we let go of the idea that it ought to be hard. After many years of recovery, a member shared that he was finally able to answer the question, is it possible that life is really this simple? With a simple yes. The principles we practice in NA have meaning throughout our lives. They offer us a way to stop using and to free ourselves to be ourselves. Working the steps, studying the traditions, and applying ourselves to service in and out of NA helps us to discover who we are and what we believe. Carrying the message brings us awareness of our gifts and limitations and guides us to change. We can measure our lives not in years or by the things we gain or lose, but by the degree to which we make peace with our own lives and the world around us. Spiritual growth is the real success. As our recovery unfolds, we find ourselves resolving feelings we never admitted we had. Open-mindedness gives us the ability to see more and more clearly within ourselves as we go through the never-ending process of surrendering, taking inventory, and inviting change. The message we carry has three parts. Any addict can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. We talk a lot about the first two because stopping is an emergency when we get here, and losing the obsession is necessary for us to enjoy our lives. But the hard work does not end there. Finding a new way to live is not something we do just once. Some of us experience great upheaval as we try again and again to find a life that makes sense for us. But we continue to carry the message, using our experience to help others. The more experience we have to share, the richer our message can become. Keys to freedom. As we practice these principles in all our affairs, they gain traction in our lives, and they start feeling more natural. For example, in the beginning, we may have to consciously practice being honest. As we continue this practice, we find dishonesty progressively more uncomfortable, perhaps even agonizing, and gradually we notice that honesty has become more normal for us. We are basically honest people, and we even like it. Some say this is how we know a higher power is involved. When our defects are removed, we may not feel them go. We may not even notice the change unless we fall back into old behavior and find that it's no longer comfortable or workable for us. We call our sponsor in distress after having done it again, or even because we are thinking about acting on that old defect and realize how long it has been since that behavior has crossed our minds. Learning to survive our impulses without acting out is a new freedom. Over time, the desire to act against our values begins to fade. Our self-made prisons no longer serve us. We are free to explore and discover what we are good at. We are free to participate, create, care, and share, surprise ourselves, take risks, be vulnerable, and stand on our own 2 feet. We find our beliefs and begin to act on them. We make decisions based on our values. We talk through fear and wake up to the miracles that surround us. We are free to be who we are and live as we choose. When we feel the deepest gratitude, we can look back and see that our path to that moment was neither short nor straight. What seemed like the worst decisions at one time in our recovery opened the doors for some of our greatest opportunities later on. We may simply outgrow some of our decisions. What was right for us at one point in our recovery may not be right for the rest of our lives, but it can be difficult for us to move on. Gifts can come wrapped in such strange packages that we don't always recognize them when they arrive. Nothing that happens is entirely good or entirely bad. We do not pretend that there are no mistakes in recovery, but sometimes those mistakes can take us in a direction we hadn't thought of before. Recovery is not a standardizing cookie-cutter process. We don't all go through the process in the same way, and we don't all come out of it the same. But there are some familiar landmarks we pass. We have phases and stages, corners we turn, staircases we climb. Each of us have periods of intense growth and times when change is more subtle. Having a new way to live means that we have to live in new ways, and we can't get confused or lost even when we have many years clean. Allowing each other room to grow at our own pace is difficult, especially when we care for each other. But self-acceptance and self-respect are the result of going through the process in our own way. Time is not the same as experience. Just because we have been there for a long time doesn't mean that we know everything we need to know. We don't graduate from the simple steps that keeps us clean and free. Our lives continue to unfold. We start at different places and we grow at different paces. Time represents the opportunity for growth, but we still have to step up to the challenge and be open to the lessons. Practicing honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness keeps us teachable, grateful, and humble. The difference between humility and humiliation can be the level of acceptance we have about the information we get. When we listen with an open mind, anyone can carry a message to us. There are no unnecessary principles of NA. though we may learn them in our own time and in our own order. We can't expect to find what we are looking for if we work some of the steps and not others, or if we are ignoring the traditions or living in conflict with our own values. Spiritual principles are not dependent on time or circumstance. We learn by observation and experience. There's a difference between feeling like we are so sick that we'll never get better and knowing that we are never done growing or recovering. Exploration lasts a lifetime. We begin over and over. It gets easier to act in our own best interest, even when we are feeling resistant. A member stated, I often hear newcomers say that they can't imagine going to NA meetings for the rest of their lives. I had the same reservation, but today I can't imagine my life without NA. We learn to do what we have to do as well as what we want to do. We don't always want to work our program, but we know the rewards we get when we take responsibility for our recovery and the consequences when we do not. New information can be hard for us to accept when it doesn't come to us in the way we think it should. Whether the information itself is surprising or the messenger is not someone we usually look to for guidance, we may dismiss new ideas because we don't like the package. A member shared, I would stand on my head in the corner and my sponsor told me it would work. But when the words that could save my life come from someone I really don't care for, it's easy to dismiss them. New tools are available for us when we allow ourselves to be surprised by both the message and the messenger. If it brings us to reevaluate our belief system, so much the better. We can see our initial resistance as a reservation in our willingness. Trying new things in recovery is the one way to keep ourselves from getting stuck. No matter how long we have been clean, we can go to meetings and listen for the music. It's like when your ears pop, a member shared. Suddenly, I can hear what I didn't know I was missing before. Our traditions teach us that in NA there are no classes of membership. It follows that the new member is as likely to save the life of an old-timer as the reverse. When we stay open to that reality, many of the limitations we set for ourselves disappear. We teach by example. Even when we are teaching what not to do, we are still carrying a message. Sharing our experience gives it meaning and value. Our hope is that the next member will do better than we did, that they can learn from our mistakes. It doesn't always work. We are people who tend to learn things the hard way. But when a member with 2 years clean shares with us that the experience we had at 10 years clean kept them from doing the same thing, we know that we are getting better personally and as a fellowship. Wisdom is building on past experience to cope with new events. When we think about our lives now in contrast to our active addiction, it is important to remember that it's not where we have been that counts, but where we are going. But where we have been in recovery in the foundation of our wisdom. We learn from our experience and we use it to help others. Our wisdom grows as we learn to see ourselves honestly without judging or jumping to conclusions. And that concludes this session. Our next session will be growing pains. Peace and blessings.